Canelo's September opponent Terence Crawford had a few things to say about David Benavidez and why he believes Canelo will never give Benavidez the same opportunity that he was fortunate enough to have been given. Now, according to Terence Crawford, it all comes down to David Benavidez and his behavior. The pound-for-pound fighter from Nebraska said that he thinks Benavidez went too far with his behavior to the point that Canelo just simply doesn't like him. Terence Crawford tried to make sense of Canelo's decision to snub Benavidez, saying that what Canelo's doing right now is basically his way of actually hurting and inflicting long-term punishment to David Benavidez. Hypothetically speaking, from Canelo's perspective, Terence Crawford said, and I quote, "Business-wise, it's like I'm not gonna give you that check. I'm not giving you that ticket. That's why he said you want payday." In the same podcast interview, Terence Crawford also said that despite Benavidez being Canelo's previous mandatory, the fact that the World Boxing Council themselves didn't do anything to pressure or threaten Canelo to be stripped off the title basically shows the power Canelo has over the boxing industry. Terence Crawford said, and I quote, "The belts don't matter when you're in his situation. Once you get to a certain peak in your career, you outgrow the belts." Crawford also implied that Canelo has reached a level wherein he knows that the belts and the sanctioning bodies behind them are the ones who need Canelo and not the other way around. Now, it's true that the WBC could have forced Canelo to defend or vacate his WBC belt. However, by Canelo relinquishing the said title, the World Boxing Council also loses their sanctioning fee cut that they get whenever Canelo defends that belt, which is around 3% of Canelo's total earnings from that fight, on top of the annual fee to carry the said title. Okay, to simplify everything, let's say Canelo makes $100 million by fighting a nobody. 3% of that goes to the WBC. Now, if you do the math, 3% of 100 million is $3 million. Now, let's say the WBC did a power trip and stripped Canelo off the belt and gave it to Benavidez. Now, Benavidez fights on a random Saturday and ends up making 10 million total. Once again, minus 3%, that's only $300,000. This equation not only answers why the WBC is very careful of not pulling the trigger on Canelo, but also the unfortunate reality of how and why money will always be the biggest factor that will influence certain things in boxing. This is why certain fighters such as Mayweather, Pacquiao, and even Canelo are always not worried about vacating their belts because they know that with the money they bring, it's these sanctioning bodies that need them and not the other way around. Now, it's an open secret that corruption plays a huge role in boxing, which honestly sucks. Also, just a heads up, the above example is specifically for the WBC. Although other sanctioning bodies also do the same thing, but with little tweaks in terms of how they charge the fighters carrying their belts. Anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, please don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for more quick talks.